Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating pattern that's showing up in the skies over Ukraine and Russia. People are calling it spaghetti versus marching ants. And believe it or not, it tells us a ton about two totally different strategies for modern warfare.
So let's jump right in. Why do these attack routes look so different? You might think it's just a visual quirk, but it's actually a super high-stakes chess match being played out with drones and missiles. Every single move is being shaped by technology, geography, and of course, defense. All right, so first things first, let's actually look at the evidence. When you map out the attacks using tracking data, analysts have spotted two completely different patterns for how these drones and missiles are getting to their targets. So on the Russian side, when you map their attack routes into Ukraine, it honestly looks like someone just dumped a plate of spaghetti on the map. You've got these winding, crisscrossing paths that, at first glance, look totally chaotic. But here's the thing, this isn't random, not at all. There's a method to this madness. These complicated, indirect routes are actually calculated with incredible precision. The whole point is to probe, confuse, and ultimately just overwhelm Ukraine's pretty impressive air defense network. Now flip the script and look at Ukrainian drone attacks flying into Russia, and, well, it's like night and day. The pattern is the complete opposite. Analysts have started calling their routes columns of marching ants. And this tells you that they're dealing with a totally different strategic reality. These straight, parallel paths, they suggest a single, precise goal. Find a known gap in the defenses and just punch through it as directly and as fast as you possibly can. So you're probably wondering why? Why these two completely opposite approaches? Well, it really all boils down to one huge factor: the air defense puzzle that each side is trying to solve. And this right here is the heart of the matter. It's a classic case of asymmetry. Russia is attacking a smaller country, but one that has dense, very effective Western-supplied air defenses. Meanwhile, Ukraine is attacking the largest country on Earth, where it's just physically impossible to defend every single square mile of territory. You know, the numbers really back this up and explain why Russia has to use this spaghetti strategy. With reported interception rates as high as 95% against those slower Shahed drones, Ukraine's air defenses are just too good. A direct marching ant-style route would pretty much be a suicide mission. It would never make it. Okay, so beyond just air defense, the actual size of these countries, this whole big country versus small country dynamic plays a massive role in reinforcing these patterns. I mean, just look at this comparison. Russia has this huge advantage. It can launch attacks from bombers in the air, ships at sea, and from deep inside its own territory. It's a big country attacking a smaller one. Ukraine, on the other hand, is working with a much more limited launch area that forces them to concentrate their attacks through those very precise, pre-planned corridors. And it's not just where they can launch from. It's also about the sheer volume. On average, Russia is deploying way more weapons. Take one massive attack, for example, on May 25th. We're talking 367 drones and missiles in a single day. This strategy of just overwhelming by numbers goes hand in hand with those complex spaghetti routes designed to completely saturate the defenses. But wait, there's another layer to this whole thing. It's not just about dodging missiles. There's a really sophisticated technological cat-and-mouse game going on here, especially with those spaghetti paths. It's all about navigating a battlefield that is just saturated with electronic interference. We're talking about electronic warfare, or EW, and both sides are using it on a massive scale. Think of it like this. A primary goal of EW is to jam the GPS signals that drones rely on for navigation, basically trying to make them blind and lost. So what happens when a drone's GPS gets jammed? Does it just, fall out of the sky? Nope. This is where things get really smart. When its GPS is blocked, the drone doesn't just give up. It switches to an internal inertial navigation system. And what that means is that the entire complex, winding spaghetti route was preloaded into its memory, and the drone can follow it exactly without any external signal. And this quote from an expert really just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly sums up what's happening. Every twist, every turn in a spaghetti route is a deliberate calculation. It's this incredible blend of avoiding air defense, trying to exhaust the interceptors, and navigating through heavy electronic jamming, all designed to maximize the chances of success. So all of this leaves us with a really interesting question for the future. We see these two very different tactics today because of the technology and the defenses that exist right now. But what happens as navigation tech gets even better and becomes less reliant on things like GPS that can be jammed? Will that need for complex evasive routes just disappear? Could every attack, no matter what the defenses look like, eventually become a column of marching ants heading straight for the target? That's a question that's probably going to define the next chapter of aerial warfare.